The angel smote him on one side, raised him up, saying, "Arise quickly." And the Bible says, and his chains fell off from his hands. Now, when did the chains fall off? When he stood up, when he started to rise. When he acted in faith, they fell off. Chains represent sin, don't they? And the chains of sin are deactivated as we arise in faith to grab hold of the hand of Jesus. My youngest daughter loves to get piggyback rides on her daddy. And I usually say no. If she asks me if I can have a piggyback ride, or any of the other kids, can I have a piggyback ride downstairs or whatever, and I usually say, "Oh, Daddy's back hurts today. Can we do it some other time?" I'm usually saying no, but Kennedy has a different strategy. She usually waits till I'm down and then doesn't ask, just jumps on, you know. She acts in faith because there's better results for her. Because usually if she asks me, you know, I'll usually say, "Oh, Daddy's back." Sometimes I give her a ride, but I don't give Alex one anymore. He gives me one. But she acts in faith. Great things happen to those Christians who act in faith. The angel says in verse 8, "Gird thyself and bind on thy sandals." And so, the Bible says, and so Peter did. You know, normally Peter is not that passive, is he? And it says, "And he saith unto him, Now cast thy garment about thee and follow me." This is an interesting thing to note, though, that speaking of Peter, now Peter's the guy who's usually opens up his foot, inserts his mouth before thinking, right? He's usually an impetuous person, overzealous and impetuous. How many of you have ever been in that situation where you're a little bit overzealous, right, Dwayne? I've been there, and I know many of you probably have been there. A lot of you are cautious, though, and you think things out logically, and you wait, make decisions rationally, but some of us are just not smart enough to do that. I remember when I used to race motocross, I did something really impetuous like Peter. I went to a race. It was at Glen Helen Raceway in Southern California. It was a big race for me, and I did all the practice. We had a practice session in the morning. The afternoon was the race time. I did all the practice, but there was this one jump on the on the track that I wasn't able to jump. I never figured out. Usually you're supposed to figure these things out before the race so you can have the track sort of, you understand the track, you know what it looks like. But there was this one funny little uphill jump, and I couldn't jump it. Hardly anybody else was jumping it, but I noticed the guys that were really going fast, a few of them, were actually jumping that jump. But during practice, I never got it down. I was too chicken. I never jumped that jump. And then just before our race, they allow what they call a parade lap. They said, okay, everybody lines up on the starting line, and then they'll set the gate down and just take a parade lap so you can see how the track's changed over practice. So you can see it, you're supposed to go slowly in a group. You go slow around the track and you look at the lines and you see the ruts and the mud and you see how it's changed and you get used to it. You just look at it in a group. You go slow, just take a quick, calm look. Well, I'm in the pack going around looking at everything. I'm really not looking at anything. I'm thinking about that one jump. I'm going, in order to win this race, you got to jump that thing. And so I'm thinking about that the whole time. And as I get closer and closer to it, all I think about is that jump. And finally, impetuously and overzealously, all of a sudden I wind my bike up and I break out of the pack. And I'm going to jump that jump. I'm going to get it down before the race, and I just hit it, and I hit this thing, and I come up, I hit the top of the jump, miss my landing, and I just wad my bike up. I just high side off the cartwheels down there, bends it all up, and people came by me. They rode there slowly as they came by me. They just looked at me like, what in the world is wrong with you? I felt so dumb, and I'm laying there, my bike's all bent, and it's just a parade lap. Everybody's thinking, what a weirdo. This is how Peter is sometimes depicted in the Bible, overzealous, over-impetuous, but for some reason, Peter's not doing this here, is he? He's doing exactly what the angel says without even questioning. In the Bible, Peter, I can think of 3 times that he stuck his foot in his mouth. Once he said to Jesus, "I'll never forsake you." You remember that? "Though all others forsake you, I won't do it, not me." And Jesus says, well, before the cock crows twice, you're going to deny me 3 times. And later, another time, Peter said, "Far be it from you, Lord. This crucifixion thing, you can forget about that. That's not going to happen to you." And Jesus rebuked him and said, "Get thee behind me, Satan. That's Peter. Another time, remember on the Mount of Transfiguration, Moses and Elijah appeared with Jesus on the Mount of Transfiguration, and Peter's there, James and John are there, and Peter has to say something, doesn't he? He says, "It's good for us to be here, Lord. Isn't it great that we're here? Let's make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, one for Elijah." And then the Lord himself, God himself, comes down in a cloud and sort of overshadows the disciples and said, "This is my beloved Son." And what's that next line? Listen to him, right? Hear him. Don't talk to him. Hear him. I think it's important to note that in our relationship with God, the hearing is a little more important than the speaking. We have prayer and we have Bible study, and what should come first is Bible study. Listening to him is more important than us talking to him. Of course, both are important to have a relationship. You have to have a relationship that way, but going on, Acts chapter 12, verse 9, it says, "And he went out and followed him, and wist not that it was true, which was done by the angel." He thought he was having a vision here, didn't he? Isn't that amazing? He's just doing what the angel says. He thinks, wow, what a neat dream. How many of you had a dream like this, where you think it's a dream, or you're not sure it's a dream? You think maybe it's real? Well, wait a minute, is that a dream or not? I've had those all the time. I used to have them. Yeah, you're just not sure, is this real or is this not? And something really awful happens, and you're just hoping it's a dream. Something really unusual happens or dangerous, and it's a dream. Here's a situation where God is working for the salvation of somebody, and they don't even know it. Does that ever happen to us? Does God work out things for us that we don't even know anything about? I remember one time in the car business, I was selling cars. A guy came out, he wanted to test drive a car that I had on the lot. And that's a really critical time for a car salesperson. The test drive, you can make the deal there or lose the deal right there. The test drive is so important. So I just impetuously get in the car, and let's hop in the car, go for a drive. And as we start to drive the car, I look over at the gas gauge, and it's below the E. I'm going, oh, this could ruin the deal here. I said, hey, why don't we test drive it over to the gas station here? And he said, all right. I just look at the gas gauge a little low there, and I don't want it to. If it runs out of gas on our test drive, that would be it. He'd probably, call a cab and give me the bill. And so we go to the gas station, and we fill up with gas, and then I realize I don't have my wallet. It's one of those where you serve yourself and then pay later. And he's in the car. He's just waiting in the car. I fill it up, and I go back in, and I tell that guy, I don't have my wallet. I'm going, oh no, this is really bad. This would really mess up this deal here. The car gets. I have to tell him we have to walk back, or we have to wash some cars here, or we have to sweep the guy's office, and so I begged the guy, the Arabic owner there, if I could. I said, listen, I'm on a test drive here. I'm just down from our car company right down there, and I'm on a test drive. And I don't have my wallet, and I got the customer in the car. Can you give me a break here? Can I go home and get you a check? The guy it was a really active Congress before I could get him to consent to this and let me go, but he wasn't going to let me go. But finally, he says, all right, leave your driver's license or whatever. I said, I don't even have my wallet. I can't leave that. I couldn't leave him anything. I didn't have my wallet. But I got him, I finally talked him into it, got back in the car, and the customer had no idea. I don't even know if he bought the car or not, but it went smooth. The presentation of the car was good, and he had no idea. Oftentimes, God is working for our salvation, and we have no idea that he's doing. Things are going on, like behind the scenes. The battle between Christ and Satan is tremendous. It's fierce, and sometimes we're just sitting here all comfortably, I have no idea. The car customer was just having a good time on a little test drive, waiting for the gas tank to get filled up and go home, while this battle was going on at the cash register. Okay, verse 10. Is that where we left off? When they were past the first and second ward, they came unto the iron gate that leads out into the city. That's the last gate, and after you go out of that, you go into the city. And then it says the gate opened to them of its own accord.